Hello, Brother Sewing and Crafting family. Angela Wolf here, Brother Brand Ambassador, and another fabulous show we have for you today. Joanne Banko is joining us. We've got the free design of the month, and wait till you see this really cute tea towel she did. And she designed the fabric, I would say, kind of like that with the Serger gathering. You can't miss it. So grab your pen because you're going to want to take notes. Pop in, say hi. We are live streaming on Brother Sewing YouTube and Facebook pages, and we will be right back.
I'm afraid I have a confession to make. I'm actually here undercover. March, now. I came to Quilt Club to gain the knowledge and insight to help build the best collection of quilting machines Brothers made. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you I was undercover. Can you find it in your hearts to forgive me? Let's quilt.
Hello, hello. Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Angela. Hi, everybody. It's time for tea. Time for tea.
Look at that cute teacup. Now that's a cutie.
Isn't that pretty? Got the matching saucer.
Oh, nice. I like it.
I love these delicate little pretty things.
I used to collect those, anything with roses on them, and then I acquired too much and I gave them away. So I have like 3 favorites that I kept.
I actually only have one. I just have this one, and I could go crazy with those, but it would be easy to do that because they're all so different.
Speaking of tea, you're going to be working on tea towels today. I think a lot of people saw the photo. They said very cute project. So why don't you give them a little glimpse of what you're going to be working on?
All righty. Well, here is the tea towel project that is currently on the Brother Sews Stitching Social blog. Okay. So there is the free teacup design. Isn't that pretty? It's so delicate and has really lots and lots and lots of potential for using different color combinations. But I wanted to, of course, one of my favorite things to do with embroidery is tie the color scheme together. So once I pick my thread colors, I usually, very often will do something with either decorative stitches or trim, or in this case, fabric to tie the whole color scheme together. So this time I decided to make use of the Serger and the Serger gathering capability. So we're going to focus quite a bit on that today. I'm actually going to show you how I managed to make this beautiful, beautiful ruffle. Isn't it perfect?
I love that. Speaking of serging, anyone who didn't know, it is National Serger Month. So pull that serger out of the box if you haven't used it yet. So all month we're going to be featuring serging, and Joanne's kicking it off with not only the free design of the month. By the way, you have to get that design before the end of April or it won't be there. So click on Brother Sews. I will put the website down below here shortly, and we'll put a link. So don't miss that.
Yes, go get it early because there is some things going on with because different time zones. So if you wait till the last minute and you're thinking like it's there till midnight, the last day of the month where you live, it might have been midnight already somewhere else and things change. So the best thing to do is to always check for that early in the month. It's usually posted on the Brother Embroidery.com website, usually the first week of the month. And then of course the blog post is always posted just almost simultaneously on the Brother blog. So
perfect. And I'll bring up embroidery too for you guys to see. So all right, well, let's kick it off.
All right, very good. So let me talk. I'll show you a few things in front of the camera, and then we'll do a few pictures on the screens for some things that I thought would be bigger, bolder, and easier to see on screen. And then we'll switch over to the serger, and I'll actually do some serging. But let's talk about color combinations first. I picked another one here, and you can see, you can make that teacup any color. The base color, I'm doing it as a I call this offsite embroidery. Basically, essentially, I'm making an applique, and I'll tell you just a little bit more about that. But first, let's just talk a little bit about colors. So assuming you may be doing this on a light colored towel, meaning like maybe white or off-white, I'm creating my applique on fabric that's actually going to match the towel pretty well. Okay. perfect match, because really mostly the embroidery is going to show, not really the, the fabric that you have underneath there. But think about your favorite colors. Think about somebody else's favorite colors. This makes a terrific gift. If you're putting together a gift basket and you want to add some other kitchen items in there, this would be great. Maybe you want to give somebody a teapot or a teacup, or, just something, wrapped like that. This would be a great project to add to that. So I'm seeing Josie Sews loves the color. So
Yes.
this is just one of those fun ones where you can come up with your own, but you just need to kind of realize the original design is made with a white teacup and then color as the trim. So knowing that I was going to put it on white, I'm like, okay, we got to change this around. So I basically just, flipped and did color for the background, and then used a darker color for the accent. So you only need 3 colors for this. You need white, and then you would need a light and a darker to contrast. Here's another color combination I got going on here. So you got some pretty color options. When I would have people ask me, when they got a new embroidery machine and they were looking at all the different things they were going to need to add, one of the first things we think of is what? Thread, right? We can't embroider anything without thread. And I would always tell everybody, pick your favorite colors for one thing, because you're likely to want to create something using your favorite colors. And then always try to pick at least a light and a dark, or a light and a medium, or a light and a medium and a dark of those colors, because you're going to reach for those, and they're going to be blender kind of colors that you're going to use in various projects. So
And
does that make sense?
Yeah, they'll really look good. Hey, Linda, by the way, you cannot click on the video, but if you see that down below, iBroidery.com, when we're finished with the show, or jot it down, www.iBroidery.com. That is where you'll go for the free design, but you can't click on the video to get there.
And I've got actually a screen that's going to show exactly where that link is that you need to go to get the design. Okay.
Great.
So let's just talk just a couple more minutes about supplies. So you're going to need a base fabric for your embroidered teacup. You're going to need those thread colors that I just talked about. And then you're going to need stabilizer. So this is my absolute all-time favorite Tearaway stabilizer. This is the Brother medium weight Tearaway. If I were naming it, I might name it not quite medium weight, because it's a little bit lighter than what I would call medium, but it's the perfect weight when you need to hoop the Tearaway with your fabric. And that gives this just a little bit more substance and a little bit more body for, that embroidery that's going to go on there. Just a little tip for you. A lot of Tearaway stabilizers are too stiff and too crisped to actually put in the hoop with a piece of fabric. So you need to make sure you use something that's got a little bit of pliability to it. Otherwise, it's going to kind of buckle away from the fabric. So there's another tip for you. So that's my favorite for that. And then you're going to need 2 different coordinating fabrics. So, of course, you can see I use the purples for my original tea towel. And then today I've got another kind of an aqua blue combination going on. I know, isn't it pretty?
That's beautiful.
It's so pretty. Now, you don't need much fabric, but you do need relatively long strips in order to gather it up. We all know most of us have done gathering in many different ways. And when you gather up a strip, you lose about half of the length approximately of what your original strip was cut at. So if you don't have a piece long enough, when I did this project, I actually used very small amounts of yardage, but I cut my strips and then I pieced them together. So you can do that on your serger. You can do that on your sewing machine. Your serger makes really quick work of sewing any type of seam. So I highly recommend that you consider doing that if you need to combine those strips together. And when you do that, also make sure that you, instead of sewing it end to end, sew it corner to corner, so on a diagonal, so that when you turn that and fold that strip, you see a diagonal seam instead of a straight seam. It shows up less because it's just covering a little bit of a All right, then you need a tea towel. So these are all over the place. You know where to shop for them. I will tell you that one of the kind of places that you may want to consider is asking your dealer, because a lot of dealers sell blanks that are used for embroidery, and tea towels like this are a popular blank item. I know quilt shops, a lot of the quilt shops that have brother dealerships will carry things like this, because there's a lot of fun things that you can make with tea towels. So check there first before you go hunting anywhere else, and you may find what you like. I actually found one that had what's called a hem stitched bottom edge, and that's what allowed me to do this nice little ribbon trim there, where I just took narrow ribbon, which is your next supply that I was going to show.
So cute, Joanne. I didn't.
It was my stabilizer.
Looking at the picture, I didn't realize it had that. That's how you got that.
Yeah. So I used a very narrow ribbon and literally wove that through those holes. And obviously, like I said, that's built into the towel, that hem stitched bottom, which just gives a kind of, get that in focus there, a little bit of an heirloom kind of look. There's actually a way that you can do this on the machine, but that's a topic for another day. And I've actually, on my YouTube channel, I'm putting together a new series of stitches. So you can watch for that to come along, where I'm going to show you how to mimic that stitch on your own brother machine. So that's something to look forward to. So yeah, just that narrow 1/8 inch polyester ribbon comes in lots of colors. And I am going to show you one other option for this as well when we get into actually making my little aqua version. Okay, so just back to the fabric, I want to remind you that the instructions tell you to use interfacing. So take a look at how different that looks with interfacing on this side and without interfacing on this side. If I tried to do embroidery on this weight of fabric, which is kind of a lighter weight cotton, I'm not going to have enough stability for that teacup to form properly. So using interfacing as a backing is one of my favorite ways to beef up fabric, even though I'm going to probably use stabilizer along with that. So somebody may be wondering already, why in the world did I do it like an applique? Well, let me show you the back side of the towel. And
I was wondering, it's almost like looking at inside your seam. I wanted to know what the back of the towel looked like. Now, if it was folded over like your oven or something, it doesn't matter, but the back looks good.
So, now here's the funny thing, and I'd love to hear from everybody that's here with us today. Like, if you make a towel like this, are you going to use it? That's the question. Now, you certainly can, and there's a whole end here that's free, so you could. But in all likelihood, something like this is going to get very light usage, and is going to be a little bit more in the decorative decorative mode. But that just makes it look really pretty on both sides. It means that I don't have any issue with worrying about having a stabilizer on the back of my towel, and it just looks good on the front and it looks good on the back. And especially if you're giving this as a gift, it just makes it really, really nice. I'm going to bring that really close so that you can see. You can't even tell where I stitched that.
You really can't.
I used a clear thread. You could use a thread that matches the outside of your teacup. That's fine too. But if you use a clear thread, it's going to melt into whatever color you have and just basically disappear.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, Kelly, I was thinking the same thing when I first saw that you had that. I actually thought you did it with the flat lock stitch with the serger, which is another way you could get it there, but it just looks beautiful.
And that's a great idea, Kelly. That actually was one of my first options that I was thinking of. But as I went along, I was like, okay, I can't add too much into this or I'll never get it done. So I had to stop somewhere.
Yeah,
and that worked out. All right.
And Anita, you could totally embroider right on the towel if you wanted to. She just kind of explained why she didn't.
And make sure, and I'm glad she asked that, because if you're going to do that, make sure that you stabilize that towel well. And one of the great advantages of a towel item like this, it's usually 100% cotton, maybe a cotton and a linen blend a little bit, but this is very easy to starch. So if I were going to embroider directly on I would spray this with spray starch and stiffen it up a bit. And I would probably do that starching, believe it or not, probably about 3 times, because the more you starch it, the little bit stiffer it becomes. And then I would hoop it with the Tearaway Stabilizer. When I'm done, I would remove the tearaway and I'd be good to go. Okay.
Very nice. Very nice. We lost you
right.
for 1 second there, so I don't know if it was like just a blurb in the internet. So
Oh, okay. All right. As long as I'm back, that's what counts. So let's talk just a little bit about the design and like the whole process. So why don't you go ahead and bring up my screens?
All right.
Okay. All right. And so the first one is just a very, very important point here. I want everybody to understand there's a slight little glitch within the instructions. And if you click on the link for the free design that is within the instructions, you're going to get taken to the wrong page. So they have added the link right at the top of the project. So I would say the first thing you do, go to the Brother blog, and when you pull up the instructions for the tea towel, before you do anything else, go ahead, click on that link where you see my big red arrow, and that will take you directly to Embroidery, where you can just one click and download the design. And now you're ready to go. Now the design is in your computer. You're ready now to go ahead and preview the instructions, print them out, whatever you want to do so that you can create your towel. Okay. Very important point. So the next screen, I've got just a little list of supplies. Now, I didn't want you at all to sit here and read this because all of this is available on the website, but I wanted to just point out a couple things, especially if there's somebody here that's new. Anybody here new today? Please raise your hand. Let us know. If this is all new to you, you want to understand that when you pull up these projects with the Brother Free Design of the Month, I always link to whatever I have used that is a Brother product. So, I've got the machines linked there. I've got the Serger list linked there. So you can go click on that and go right to that page and see what's available. And then when it comes to stuff like the stabilizer, you don't have to write down what did she say? What was that? It's all right there for you. Presser feet. What presser feet did I use? Well, I used a clear view presser foot when I did the applique on the, to add the cup to the towel. And I use the clear view presser foot that actually has a little bit of it's a closed toe foot. So it has a little bit of a bar in front of it. And being that it's all clear, I have one here somewhere. Yeah. I don't know how good you can see it. Let me bring it up so you can see it. Okay. That foot, you can see that little bar in the front. It's kind of like a, it closes it up and you just have the zigzag opening there. That really helps when you're doing this type of applique where you're not satin stitching. Satin stitched applique creates bulk. And in that case, there's another foot for the task that has an open toe. But whenever I do more intricate stitching where I want to be really careful that I go around that edge and catch everything, and I'm just using a narrow stitch, then I like to make sure that I use this clear foot because it creates a little bit more pressure on the actual applique piece when you're stitching, and just helps hold everything nice and flat and hold everything in place. So this is one of my absolute must-have feet. Got to have that one. All right.
Must have. I see a couple questions about Sergers coming up. We'll save those for the
end. Good.
But in the meantime, we'll keep the project rolling.
I love your questions. So now let's just take a little peek at the design so that you can see. This is the next screen will show you that design.
Thanks, Cindy.
Angela, you want to flip to the picture of the teacups?
There we go.
Okay, great. So I want you to see a couple things here. First of all, the design fits within a 4x4 hoop. That's what I had here showing you, 4-inch hoop. So you don't need anything bigger than that to make this teacup. It fits perfectly in a 4x4 hoop. You see that I always make color changes. So I like to let you know what color changes I personally made in case you happen to like that combination and you want to repeat it. And I know Arnell is here. Arnell, I know she likes that combination because we are fellow purple people. And I'm sure I have some other fellow purple people here if you want to raise your hand. if you're a purple person, but that just really looks pretty together. So then back to that screen, there's just a couple other bits of important information on there. I like to list out what the basic steps are because, you know, we try to put on these projects about how long it's going to take you, but that's all kind of relative. So I like to list out what the basic steps are. You're going to embroider the teacup design. You're going to actually treat the raw edge with seam sealant. So we won't get into any brand names there, but seam sealant prevents your fabric from raveling. And I'll show you a contrast. When I did this little test piece, I didn't use seam sealant. Can you see my little hairies?
Oh, yeah, I see hairs.
That's not fun because then you got to trim those off and make sure that none of them are, you know, showing up. And then what happens when you wash the towel? They might come back. So you want to treat that completely with seam sealant, just a thin little line of it all around the edge. Let it dry thoroughly, absolutely, completely thoroughly. And then you will take your curved tip scissors. Where mine go? And you will trim that close to the stitching. Now you can leave a little bit of a margin of the fabric around because remember, we're using fabric that matches the towel pretty close, right? So you're not going to see that. And I would rather have a little margin left than accidentally cut into that stitching. So be careful with that. So curved tip scissors make the best tool for doing this, but I want to give you a couple options because it's kind of easy when you see and you're going around, you know, that curved edge. That's pretty easy. But when we get into these scalloped areas, it can be a little bit tricky. So here's a tip for you for all appliques that you're doing. You know, we do a lot of applique with our embroidery machine where we're actually embroidering appliques in the hoop, and a lot of us do a lot of trimming. When you're trimming around any curves, instead of trying to maneuver your scissors around there, my best tip is to get in there and literally clip into those curves. So I'm going to kind of just do a little example here and show you. Getting in here and I'm just nipping. So you can see I've kind of created almost like little tabs. So now when I go to trim this away with my scissors, I'm not going to do it on camera because I can't see what I'm doing that good. But I only have to trim that small part at a time. So anytime you've got intricate areas, try this trick. Go ahead and clip into it and then trim those little pieces instead of trying to trim the whole big sweep at one time. So that's one of my best applique tips for you.
That's a great tip. And we've got Carolyn who's new. Welcome to the party, Carolyn.
Hey, great to have you here. Wonderful.
I think it was Marion that asked, are there free designs every month? So far, yes.
We've been doing that for a really long time. So, you know, we'll see if this continues, but for now it's
purple lovers here.
Oh, that's great. That is great. It's so good to see everybody here today.
Definitely. Patty has a question for you. Can you use wash away or heat away stabilizer instead?
Instead of the Tearaway, I'm going to say if your fabric's a little bit heavier, probably yes. But if not, I would really stick with that Tearaway. When you're done, all of it gets removed. Like I've already torn away the Tearaway from here, torn away the Tearaway, and none of it's left. Underneath where all your stitching is, that Tearaway gets pretty well perforated, so there's nothing left to it. If you've ever run your machine, you know, our machines have all these protection modes now, but in the years past, I have run a machine where I left and came back and didn't realize that the thread ran out, and you know, it was stitching away and it was stitching on the stabilizer, and the stabilizer almost turns to dust. So you really don't have to worry about that being left. So you're usually better off having something there that's going to give a little bit more stability than the washaways do.
Definitely.
For this kind of thing.
We've got another new person here, and we've got some more purples.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, the snipping tip, Julianne, really makes life easier for you when you are trimming any type of applique, especially when you're trimming them in the hoop or you've got a lot of curvy edges. Okay.
Definitely.
See, we're getting a lot.
A lot of new people today.
I wanted to. That's
So
wonderful.
Anne wants to know before you, because I know you're going to be going to the Serger here in a minute, but Anne wants to know, did you use clear in the bobbin or what did you use in the bobbin? I mean, you really, it doesn't matter because you're backing
Great
it
question.
up.
Yeah. You know what? I don't think I've ever used clear thread in my bobbin. I always match the thread in the bobbin to the color of the actual base fabric. So in that case, it would be white for my towel, and I only use clear on the top. Okay. Yeah. And then I saw somebody asked if I cut the little handle part out, and I say no, because there's no reason to. I mean, if it's going to be really hard to get in there, and when you put it on the white towel, the white's going to show right through there again anyway. So I wouldn't bother with that.
Use a topper on top of the design.
I did not. Nope.
This isn't like a fluffy towel. It's a tea towel.
When you're stitching on flat fabric, and this cotton is perfectly flat, there's no need for a topper. If you were doing something with teeny tiny details and you wanted to add that just as a precautionary measure, you could, but on flat fabric, normally not an issue.
All right, Vicki has a question for you. Can you just stitch
Vicki,
it on?
That's a really good question, and I have done that at different times. The only thing I would say is that depending on the stabilizer, it may shrink up a little bit, whereas fabric with interfacing has a little bit more stiffness to it. So I would do a test on that, and it's going to depend on the cutaway. And just you want to make sure that it doesn't look funny around the edges when you're done, and it doesn't shrink up. But that's a good question. I have done it for some projects.
There you go. Mary, is the design only in brother format? Yes, because it is a brother show and it's embroidery.com. So It is only in a brother format.
All brother sponsored. So it does come in a PES file, a .PES file, and you don't need anything special software wise or anything to download it. If you click on that link that I showed you, in the earlier screen, it will literally, and I can't guarantee on every computer, but it should literally drop right into your downloads folder. And then you just need to save it onto whatever media you're using to take it to your machine. So you don't even need software to look at it.
Even better. Sharon wants to know, what size needle did you use for embroidery?
That's a good question. And that's actually in the instructions. I recommend with the clear thread that you check with the manufacturer of the thread, but a lot of times they call for a size 14 top stitch needle when you're using that clear thread. It's a little bit of a larger eye.
Very
right.
Hey, hi, Betty. And Lorraine, use the scan and cut to cut that cup out first.
I hadn't really thought about that. Because you need a defined line around there. So I don't know if it would see all of those edges. I don't know.
It'd be worth, Lorraine, we're added to the bucket list of testing.
Yeah. Lorraine, try it out and let us know.
You can always trace it too, and then scan in the trace design and then have it cut. So
there are ways there are always many options, aren't there? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. All right. So I've got your coffee cup here in case those wanted to see that again.
Okay. So then the next step would be to create the ruffled trim, and that's what we're going to do in a minute here. And then you would attach the applique and the trim to the towel. So I'll walk you through that when we get to that. Is that the last screen that I actually had on there? No, I think I got a couple more. Yeah, I wanted to show this really, really close because we're going to be using the gathering foot, and it's going to be almost impossible for you to see it on my serger. So I want to just talk about this for a minute, because what we're going to do with this is we are going to gather one strip of fabric to a second strip of fabric and sew that together all in one step using the gathering foot. And the reason that's possible, if we go back to the gathering foot, you'll be able to see that foot actually has a bottom plate and then a slot in between the bottom of the foot and where that plate is. So what that means is the fabric that you put between the foot and the plate will not get gathered because it's not coming in contact with the feed dogs. And the feed dogs are what's going to actually gather the fabric. The fabric then that you want to actually gather, you put under the plate. And when you put the two together, they're separated. That's actually separator plate. So they're separated. One layer on the very bottom against the feed dogs of the serger will gather up when I use the settings I'm going to show you, and the other piece will lay flat. Pretty cool, huh?
Oh, yes, that's great. Now, before we move on, I just see a few people saying they can't figure out where to find the design. I'm just going to share Embroidery right here. Just give me one quick second.
Okay, that'll be good.
This is it. So if you go to Embroidery, and it's embroidery.com, I'll bring the website up again. You cannot click on the video, guys. You have to like just type it into your computer, embroidery.com. You should save that anyways, because every month, remember to come and get the free design right here on the left-hand side. Free design of the month. Click on details, and our price is free. Download now. That's all you have to do. So I saw somebody saying it's not free. It looks free to me.
Well, that's where if you click on the link that is inside the instructions, there's a glitch with that. We're trying to get that corrected. I don't know when it will be, but what they did is they added the link to the top of the page. So if you go directly there,
yeah,
you're good.
So just keep that in mind. Here it is, embroidery.com. Click on free design of the month, and there it is. And you download, and it downloads right to your computer. See, boop, it popped right into my computer there. Yep. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. And then I can take that to a USB and take it to my machine, and we're good to go. So just for those of you that missed the beginning, I'm just going to leave that up here, especially if you're watching the replay. All right.
And I see a comment here. Lisa said she doesn't have a serger. Okay, Lisa, if you don't have a serger, you can gather this a traditional way and then make your ruffle like that. So there are many other ways to do it, but we're celebrating serger month, so we wanted to kind of highlight what you could do on the serger.
Definitely. Oh, we got you, Lisa. Serger, not server. Well, I don't have a server either, but
yeah. And then Betty's saying she always has a hard time to find the directions. Well, they're always posted on the Brother Stitching Social blog. And I know, Angela, you have oftentimes told people where to go to find that blog.
Yeah, so I just put, if you look down below, brothersews.com. If you go to brothersews.com, you scroll to the bottom of the page, and there are two blogs, one for crafting and one for sewing. So if you're into paper crafts and you're into crafting projects and you have a scan and cut, you definitely want to click on both blogs. There's new projects all the time.
And the one for that the free design of the month is on is called Stitching Social, and it will actually say that on the Brother webpage. Now, if you're on my email list, you'll get to know like right away because I always email everybody and give them all the different kind of, clues and background. In this case, I actually even wrote another blog post with some additional information because I don't know about you, but after I finish a project, I always think of 10 more things that I didn't maybe get to say.
I do too.
Clear thread. Okay, Cindy, let me have a sip of tea and then I'll tell you clear thread.
Clear thread. You guys are having such great questions too.
And they're wonderful questions because we got to realize everybody comes into sewing from a different place, a different angle at a different time. So you may have never used that before. Clear thread is also known as monofilament thread. And the monofilament type thread is very popular for quilters even that want to do quilting on something. You may have bought something at one time in your life that you looked at it and they didn't use thread that matched the fabric. They used thread that kind of just disappeared. That's what monofilament thread is. Years ago, monofilament thread used to be kind of not so great side, but these days there's all kinds of good quality. Again, I would recommend going to your Brother dealer and asking them what they recommend, because they're not going to sell you thread that's going to have problems in your machine. They're going to sell you the good stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Arnell. Appreciate that.
Put a link here. I'm going to type this into here because I think it's not going to the YouTube page. I'll just say this is from me. And this is the link for free design to the Embroidery page. And then you'll be able to click from there. So I just put it in. So it should be on Facebook and YouTube. All right.
All right, Angela, you're going to have to talk for a minute because I have to cough.
All right, so Joanne has a little bit of well, I don't know about you, Joanne, but I just drove back from Florida through North Carolina. I know a lot of you live in North Carolina and South Carolina, and I'll tell you what, my allergies are blooming, blooming literally because of all the blooms. So anyways, while she's up there, I'm going to bring this up one more time. And I just want to show you, here's the Embroidery page. And when you click on here, just go to free design of the month. You should check back here each month as well, because then you can see the free design of the month, and it gives you directions how long it takes to embroider and all of those things. So, all right, I think Joanne is back.
Yep, you are so right. Everything just started popping out here like crazy, and it's getting to me.
Definitely.
All right, so we talked about the gathering foot. I hope everybody understands that, and you'll see it in action. But I wanted you to get a really close-up look at that foot before I tried to use it on the machine, and you couldn't kind of see what was going on. Okay. All right. I think we got one more picture after that.
Let's see here.
I'm just seeing too. Deborah has a good tip. She said, I found that using invisible thread is better not to use the needle threader. That's a really good point. I will tell you that I have broken the rules at times and it worked okay. But I just recently had a conversation with somebody, and they were talking about the automatic needle threaders and what Brother told you to do and not to do. And if you look in your manual, it actually will tell you what size needles you should use with that, and what size you shouldn't. And it does actually recommend that you do not use the automatic needle threader with the clear thread. So
actually, or metallic thread. I know that from experience 3 times, not even once, not even twice. So if you've broken your needle threader before, 3 times is the charm. And I'm sure I'll do it again. Yeah. I just forget. You get so used to such a great convenience as touching a button and your needle's threaded.
Play it safe and do and follow the rules.
Play it safe. All right. So here's
all right. So that little sample is just to remind you that when you do this technique, which we are going to do in a minute here, you want to remember to always do a test piece. So I always start out by making sure that my serger basic stitch is balanced. And I've actually got my serger set for 4 threads. You could use 3 threads with this. You don't have to have 4, but I had 4 white in my machine, so I'm just gonna go with that. But when you want to test out the gathering, you want to do a piece just normally before you try to use that layering effect with the separator plate, because you want to make sure that you've got gathers. Okay, if you don't have gathers and you try to put 2 pieces together and gather one to another, you're not getting anywhere. So do a test piece at first. And I actually recommend with this project that you do a test piece also in order to see how many gathers you're getting, because I'm going to show you some options for that. But in this case, you want to get the maximum gathers you can get out of your machine. So if you take a strip and let's say you cut it 16 inches long, and then you set the gathering like I'm going to show you, and you run a piece through, ideally it would shrink up to about 8 inches. So it's giving you, that 2-to-1 ratio of fullness. Okay. Does that make sense?
It sure does. So I'll bring that one.
Get some great comments going on in here today. Anne says, read your manual, note to self. Yep. We like to just get right to the good stuff and skip all that. And then Dolly says, please watch the clear thread. Some are disappearing. Okay. I'm not quite sure what she means by that, but it can be a little bit hard to see, but it comes in handy. Definitely comes in handy. All right. I think we're ready to switch over to the serger. Let me go ahead and switch my camera and you can bring me back up. Sound like a plan?
Yeah, so as soon as I see her at the serger, and keep asking your questions, we'll roll through those. And I saw some from you, Kelly, cleaning your serger. I had to giggle. Do you use a vacuum or do you use a chisel? Well, first off, you really should. I clean my serger out in between each project, or each day, I should say, because it sure can get a lot of fuzz in there. That's for sure. There you are, Joanne. We can see you. Okay, great. That is a really good point, because I don't know if you can see mine, but mine, just from running a few pieces in there, it got dirty. Sergers are one thing you absolutely want to check your manual on, because some sergers need oil in certain places. And if your serger needs oil, it's really important that you do, in fact, get those places oiled, especially if you have left your serger sitting for a while. You want to oil it before you get it going again, because there's a lot of, unlike our sewing machines, there are parts where there's metal against metal touching each other. So, but just to be clear on that, not every serger needs that. So if you're curious, call your brother dealer. Don't be sticking oil all over the place if it doesn't say it.
No, you want to make sure, like your manual would tell you where and when and how if you need to do it, but obviously your dealer is going to be able to help you with that too. So let me just show you what I started doing. Again, just a reminder, we want to start with a balanced stitch. So if you look at my serger stitch, I think you can see that pretty good, can't you?
Oh, we can see it great.
That's the top side and that's the bottom side. Now I don't have different colors in here, so it kind of melts in a little bit, but when you've got a balanced stitch, you know that your serger is working properly. If we try to do, that gathering technique again, we want to start off with something that's working, not something that might be a little bit off. So start with that nice balanced stitch, and you're going to want to serge finish the one strip. I've got these labeled in the instructions as strip number 1 and strip number 2. Strip number 1 is the piece that doesn't get gathered. Strip number 2 is the piece that does get gathered. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to change the foot, and I left mine on here because I want to show you how to do that. There's a little lever in the back, and you just press that lever and it will release the foot. And then what I found, the easiest way to get that foot out and get the new one in is press up on your lever, because that'll raise your presser foot just a little bit higher, and then turn it to the side and then sweep it out the back. So when we go to put the gathering foot on, hopefully I didn't bury that one too far. Where did I put it? Okay, when we go to put that on, I'm going to use the same principle. I'm going to raise my foot a little higher. I'm going to slide that foot sideways and then turn it around until it matches up right under the little clamp. Okay. Now that did not clip on. So that happens a lot. I want to teach you another trick. If it's close, but it didn't quite clamp on, reach back and press the lever again. It'll open it up. Did you hear that little click?
Mm-hmm.
I hope you heard that little click. That means it's now snapped on. So you want to make sure that foot is snapped on. All right. So I've got my second piece. And again, all the measurements are there for you, telling you what you need and, what length and what width and all that. But I've got my second piece is double because I want that ruffle to have a fabric side on both the right and the wrong side. All right. So this piece is going to go all the way under the foot. My second top strip is going to go into the separator plate, and I want raw edges matching. So I'm going to slip that in there, get that forward a little bit. When we do this, we've cut all oversized pieces. So you're going to trim everything all at the end. So you don't worry too much about what your starting point and your ending point actually looks like, because we're going to trim that away. All right, now it's time to set up my serger for gathering, and you can't see everything I'm going to do here because of the camera angle. So you're going to have to trust me on this, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn my differential feed to the highest number. So on this machine, that is a 2.0. Then I'm going to increase my stitch length, and I'm doing this with my knobs on the side to the longest length possible. So differential to the highest number, stitch length to the longest number. And then I'm going to increase my needle tension. So that, I think I can raise the camera just a little bit so you can see. These two are my needle tensions. I'm going to increase these to a pretty high amount. I'm going to start at about 7 or 8. And because I have 2 needles in here, I'm going to do both. Now, you would never do that for any other type of normal stitching, but for gathering, that's what you want. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and start and let that grab a little bit. And as this is going through the machine, I'm going to do a little bit of an unusual technique here. I'm going to kind of push my finger, my index finger, behind the strip as it's being gathered. That helps keep more gathers kind of pushed in and less pulled out. And then I'm going to kind of, this is a little bit like you want to chew gum and walk at the same time. You're going to have to watch both ends because I want to make sure that strip is matching up on the raw edges here, that my bottom freely, so it gets gathered up by those feed dogs, and my top is staying nice and smooth. So don't pull on this bottom piece. Don't tug on this. Let this bottom piece freely feed into the machine, and pull just a little bit on the top piece so that you keep that strip nice and straight, and then keep your finger back there. And then you can release that just a little bit at a time. If you need more gathers, you can go ahead and tighten up your needle tension a little bit more. And then I would also advise that you serge a little slower than you normally would, because your tension is so tight. You don't want to put any more strain on it. Getting to the end here. If you trim off a little bit of fabric, that's not a big deal, but most of the time, if you line this up right along the edge, it's going to just skim and not really trim. And then the other thing you need to realize is the stiffness of your fabric is going to make a difference in gathering. So the softer the fabric, the more gathers that you have. And keep that finger back there behind what you're doing. All right, so I'm going to open that up, and you can see all my pretty little gathers. Isn't that beautiful?
Those look great, Joanne.
It came out really good. Now I have quite a bit of extra length here at the end, so I'm just going to snip that off. And my scissors. Do we have any questions on the gathering and the serger setup?
No, they must just be watching. They're all silently watching.
All right, very good. But look at that. Look how pretty that is.
Oh,
Just that nice, neat, even. And you can see what it did is it sewed the seam, gathered the bottom strip, and of course, serged, finished all of that seam allowance all at the same time. So it's a nice, clean finish. Now I would go to my iron. I would give that a nice press like you would any seam. And then I actually turned this raw or serged edge under so that I could top stitch it right to the towel. So let's switch back, and I'll show you how you finish this up on your actual towel.
All right. While she's switching back, I can see your comments. I know it does look great, doesn't it? I love that. And I see a lot of you saying that you were able to get the free design of the month. Perfect. So again, it's at embroidery.com. I saw somebody asking, talking about newsletters. So here, I'll bring up our websites while Joanne is switching her camera. If you look down below, there's the blog.brothersews.com. That's where you can find the blog. Then you have Let's Go Sew. That's Joanne's site, and angelawolf.com is my site. We both have newsletters. We're always filling you in on what's going on, the live shows, the great blog posts, all of that. So, and we have Joanne back.
All right. So you can see here what I did. I put the teacup on here. You can use a little bit of fabric glue if you want to, or you can pin it on. And then I just used a simple, I used the lightning stitch. Actually, you could use a zigzag stitch to attach that with that clear thread. So that part's done. And then I'm just going to add this ruffle by having this raw edge, serged edge actually, turned under, and then I'm going to just top stitch that right to the towel. And then at the ends, I'm going to cut off the excess and turn that in and just hem it and wrap it around to the back side. Obviously, if your towel didn't have this pretty hem stitching, you could put that ruffle up a little bit higher, and that way you could even completely cover what your serger stitch looks like on the back side. So that's another option. Now, what do you do if you can't find ribbon that matches your beautiful fabric?
Oh, I love that blue. Those blues.
I know, isn't it pretty? I got everything buried here. Let me find my.
Yes, Deborah, when she was doing that, the right sides of the fabric were together, because then when you open it up, they're all right sides facing up. So right sides facing together. Thank you for asking that.
Very important. Okay, so the last step is putting that ribbon through that. Now, like I said, what do you do? Oh, here it is. what do you do if you can't find ribbon to match this? I actually went out on a mission, took to color, and I couldn't find this narrow with the ribbon in this color for the life of me. So what do? We look for plan B, right? Those of us that are sewing enthusiasts, we are so good at coming up with plan B. I went over to the aisle where all the hand embroidery stuff was, and I found embroidery floss that was perfect. So I've threaded this through with a tapestry needle. And then I wanted to show you how I would do this. I would just weave this through, just going in and out all of those holes. I want to do a few of them. I might weave it under a couple times. Am I showing up okay here?
Oh, yeah, we can see that. Wonderful.
All right, we'll go one more time out. Tapestry needle is dull on one end and has a large eye so that you can pull through. But look at how pretty that is.
That's beautiful. And that matches perfect, Joanne.
You can anchor this under then that, that free end by, just wrapping it back and top stitching, or weave it through a couple times that hole and make a knot in the back. That's actually what I did when I did the ribbon, but that would make a beautiful, beautiful accent. And again, you've tied together the whole color scheme with all your goodies there. Okay.
I love it. I love it. I agree, Lisa. So cute. Great cup of tea. And Judy Romano, great to see you, by the way. She said, I finally made a live show.
Good to see you, Judy. It's, this would be a fun gift exchange. Maybe you want to have a birthday party or something and you want to have a tea party theme. You're never too old to have a tea party, right? Some of us remember doing this when we were little girls. I had a great tea party with a group of friends, sewing friends, a few years ago. I'm actually thinking about planning an online tea party where we kind of focus on that as a theme. We all drink tea together. We do some sewing tips. And so I might come up with something like that in the near future.
That sounds fun. Everybody's saying great idea. Everybody's adding more ideas. If you can't find the yarn is another idea. Kelly says, some of your embroidery floss, you could zigzag it onto the tail. So many fun ideas.
Oh, absolutely. See, this is what this does. It sparks the inspiration and the ideas just start coming from everybody. So glad you like it, Jeanette. That is great.
Lisa, when are the live shows? So the live shows, they vary, but most of the time they're Tuesdays and Thursdays. The time varies. Like sometimes on Tuesdays, it's later in the afternoon. So if you sign up for brothersews.com, actually, I misspoke earlier. It's brothersews.com, not blog.brothersews. So I put it down below. And if you want to sign up for Joanne's newsletter, go to letsgosew.com, and my newsletter, angelawolf.com. We all email information about the live shows coming, and you always get to have pretty good information on that. But Brother Sews usually sends one, and you can also, depending on if you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube. On Facebook, there's an events page on the Facebook page too. But anyways, those are 3 great ways to find out about what's coming and things like that. Right, Joanne?
Yeah. And what's fun is that we're all doing something a little bit different. So, you're doing different things in your newsletter. I'm doing different things in my newsletter. And, we don't overlap. We kind of intertwine, and it makes for a good sewing life for everybody out there.
Oh, Vicki, I love that. Do a chain stitch in the serger. That would be very fun. That would be very cute. Great idea.
Yep. I've done that and used it for couching. So that is a great idea. Mother's Day tea would be wonderful. Yeah. And you could add a name to that or a message, Happy Mother's Day above that. Whatever. That would be a great way to personalize it.
So
some good ideas.
So earlier, Kelly wasn't talking about cleaning the inside of her machine. She was talking about cleaning the top of her machine from the dust.
That's
dust off.
That's a good point, though, because it really is, it's almost more important to keep the top area of your serger clean than it is even the inside, because if it collects a lot of dust, that can get carried into the tension disc. So it's nice to have a cover for it when you're not using it.
Oh, yes, yes. All right. This is awesome. Everybody's saying beautiful, beautiful. Love it. I saw some of you asking a few questions about maybe some products that aren't Brother. Feel free to reach out to Joanne for some of those, especially the seam sealant of some sort.
Yep, I'm always happy to help. Just shoot me an email. That's the best way to get a hold of me, through my website. And everybody here that's already on there, they know I try to help whenever I can, and I answer you back as quickly as possible. So.
Hey, Dalia, you're late, but not too late. We're still here and you're still live. But you'll have to go back and watch the tutorial. It's fantastic. Did I lose you, Joanne?
Oh,
you're back.
Hope everybody got some good ideas there today.
Definitely. A great project. I can hardly wait. Don't forget, you need to download this design before the end of the month. And as Joanne said, we're all in different time zones, so be sure to go and download it. Just do it right now. Don't even wait till the end.
Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Do it now.
Because you know what happens at the end of the month? You're like, oh my gosh, I don't have my laptop. I can't get it downloaded. And then you're freaking out and then it's too late. So go grab that. And I think I brought this up. I'll bring this up one more time right here. And let's see. I just lost my mouse.
Well, while you're doing that, I see a comment here. Julianne has a really good comment. She says, need patterns for covers for different sewing machines. I'm going to put that on my list. So thank you for the idea. I've been doing these brother blogs for many, many, many years now, and I try to come up with new ideas all the time, but I will definitely come up with a sewing machine custom cover project. So I'll put that on my list.
Great idea. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Joanne, this was another great project. I can hardly wait to see what next month's free design of the month is. So stay tuned and happy tea. I actually have tea, but in a much larger cup today. It's much prettier.
Time for tea and happy sewing.
Time for tea and happy sewing. So everyone, thank you for watching. Joanne, it's great to see you. Brother, thank you for letting us take over your page. And if you enjoy these shows, be sure to leave comments, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and be sure to like us on Facebook. I think I got it all. Joanne,
bye, everyone. Thank you, Angela. Thanks for everybody that's here. And thank you, brother, for letting us take over your page.
All right.
Happy sewing.
Bye.